Hey, welcome into Sports Beat KC. It is Monday, March 14th, and we are live down here in Surprise, Arizona for another Royals podcast. On today's show, we're going to talk about Yordano Ventura and his path to becoming the Royals' best starting pitcher in 2016. We're going to talk about the Royals' 25-man roster and how it's shaping up with 3 weeks to go in spring training. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Alex Gordon and his upcoming season in 2016 and how the Royals managed to re-sign one of the best players in franchise history. But first, let's go around. Sam Mellinger is here.
Hi.
Sam, what's up? You got in on Sunday?
I did. Yeah, Sunday morning, and here for a couple more days.
So this is like the time of year where it seems like you're flying around a lot.
Right.
And because you were at the Big 12 tournament, you were at spring training earlier this month, and now you're going to go to Des Moines on Thursday.
Not a flight, but yeah. I'm gonna go.
Fly back to Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm flying back to Kansas City on Wednesday night, and then I'm actually not gonna go to Des Moines until either Friday night or Saturday morning, just because, the wife is 36 weeks. So
you're not going to the first round game.
Right. Yeah.
So when 16 beats a 1,
I'm gonna miss history.
You're gonna be screwed.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss history. Vahe Gregorian will have to get the whole thing. But yeah, I felt really bad about, if I was going to be gone for like 8 straight days or 9 straight days, whatever it would have ended up being. So I figure Kansas should be able to get past Austin Peay, and then I'll catch them against UConn or Colorado.
Cool. And we're also here with Pete Grathoff, who is a writer, blogger, reporter, editor, and basically the most valuable employee at the Kansas City Star in 2016.
That's a true fact.
Hey, I hope my bosses are listening. Yeah. Can you guys write my review for me?
But hey, let's get into it. It's Monday. The Royals played the White Sox today. I think they played the White Sox.
They did.
Yeah,
I can't confirm.
That's right.
That's good. Yordano Ventura pitched, and this was his third outing of the spring, and they're still kind of building up pitch counts, but I feel like this was probably his best outing of the spring, and he actually had some good ones earlier. But Sam, you wrote about this today, and I think it'll be in Tuesday's paper. Just sort of his path in 2016 and what he has to gain. This is a guy in 2014 was maybe one of the Royals' best starting pitchers and maybe one of the best rookie starting pitchers in baseball. And then last year sort of had his year of growing pains and all the issues. And I was forgetting this, but like last April there was like a 4-start stretch where he didn't come out of a game in like a normal way.
Yeah.
He had 2 starts of cramps and he was getting thrown out of baseball games
Right.
and causing all sorts of ruckuses. But like what do we make of Yordano Ventura in 2016?
Yeah, so I actually think that he is poised, that he is in a great position to have a huge year. I think he's going to be great. I really do. I think that what he did in 2014 was like pure talent in some ways and kind of ambushed some people and surprised some people. And then I think last year was the result of a lot of things. Like one is not enough maturity. 2 is a huge workload the year before. And 3, I think that maybe this goes back to maturity, but I don't think he was really taking care of himself all that well, away from the field sometimes. And I think that you can see a different, and I'm not trying to make this like a best shape of his life kind of thing here, but he's slimmed down. Like he's in really good shape. And I look at that as sort of a commitment that he's made to put himself in the best shape of what he knows can be a really big year for him.
Yeah. You made this point in the column, and I think it's right that it has nothing to do with his pitching, but being down here, you can sort of see it. He's trying to speak more English this year.
Yeah.
He's doing interviews in English for the first time, not with big groups, but he'll talk in English after a start or if you talk to him before the game, and I think, like you wrote in the column that it really has nothing to do with his pitching, and
Right.
It's sort of a little thing, and it really has, if he performs well, it's not because he's growing up or all these sorts of things, but it's something there, it's like he wants to, I think, kind of take that next step.
Yeah, I mean, and look, like I totally get the hesitation that guys have sometimes of speaking their second language to a bunch of people that's their first language, and their job is to disperse those words to big audiences. I totally get the hesitancy, and so if guys like Kendrys Morales never want to have a interview without a translator, I'm totally fine with that. But I just think that with Yordano, it's just a sign. It's just a small sign that he has a growing comfort, that he has a growing confidence. He's not totally at ease speaking English. I think you can see that in his body language sometimes when he's doing interviews, which I totally get, but I think that it's a sign that he's, growing up a little bit, that he's willing to give it a try and see how it goes. And it seems like, I don't think there's like a set policy or anything, but it seems like he'll do like one-on-one interviews, or maybe just a real small group, like just, 2 guys or whatever, in English. But if it's going to be more than that, I think he wants to do Spanish.
Yeah, this is probably a bigger point than we have time for on the podcast, but I also think it's sort of interesting. He's going to be 25 in June, and I think we think of him as a young guy, and I think also we think sometimes of Latin players as being younger than they really are for like lots of weird cultural reasons. But like he's not. I guess the point is he's not young anymore.
Right.
I mean, he's not like this 21, 22-year-old pitcher who's sort of finding his way. Like he's reaching, if not the prime of his career, he's reaching sort of like the pre-prime where he can be. And pitchers sort of reach the prime at younger ages too than a lot of hitters do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at, as a matter of fact, I think Zach Greinke's 2009, I think he was 25 years old. If you look at the history of a lot of pitchers, they have huge years at 25. And I was kind of frustrated last year when Yordano's going through these ups and downs and a lot of drama that he created. But that was like an excuse, I think, that a lot of people use, is he's just a kid, he's just so young. And I'm like, he's 24, that's not, 18, that's not 17, that's not, he is young, but he's not a kid. And I just think that he had some growing up to do that had nothing to do with being too young. And I really believe that he had to fail. Like he went through the minor leagues, and I'm pretty sure he was wiping folks out. I mean, this was a guy that, JJ Piccolo and a lot of those Royals executives had been tapping as, that's our ace. That's going to be our ace in 5 years. Like he'd been hearing that for a long time. And I think maybe he needed to fail, and he needed to see that, sometimes your stuff isn't enough and it doesn't work, and you have to back it up with a lot of work and commitment.
Yeah, Zach Greinke was 25 years old in 2009.
Yeah, and that's
Cy Young, which is a little bit different, a little wild that he was still that young, because he had at that point left baseball and then come back and he had like a full career before he was even 25.
Yeah, and there's a lot of really great pitchers who have career years, and Zach's had a really good career after that, but he hasn't been as good as he was in 2005, and and I think that's a pattern. I think without looking it up, I mean, I bet Roger Clemens at 25 was quite the badass. I mean, I just think that's a time where your talent, your physical abilities, your physical talent is at a peak. And we always think about velocity with Yordano Ventura, but to me, it's always been about his off-speed stuff, and especially his curveball. And today was his changeup. He got 4 out of his 6 strikeouts on a changeup. The other 2 were curveballs. But that's what he has to do, because his fastball is straighter than you want it to be, particularly when he throws it in the upper 90s. And if big league hitters know that's coming, they can tee off on it.
Okay, I'm looking at Yordano Ventura's baseball reference page, and they have the projections on here for the Marcel's projections, which is one of the nerdy things that you can look at. So this is what they have for Yordano in 2016. They have him a 3.74 ERA with 148 strikeouts and 159 innings pitched. Are you gonna be more bullish than that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm not a stocks guy. Does bullish mean I think he'll be better than that?
Yeah, bullish is good.
All right. Yes, then I would be more bullish on that. I just you know, we're all guessing, right?
Yeah, and these projections are taking into account last year, and they don't have a lot of history with him. But yeah, so I mean, there's
we're all
basically
guessing.
averaging his last 2 seasons out to more or less.
Right, and probably a little bit higher than the average of those 2 seasons. But I think he's way more of that guy the first year of 2014. That's his talent. That's his talent level. And the other thing I think about with him is when he got sent down, I forgot whatever the date was, and sent down in air quotes, right? Because he never actually went down. But his ERA was like 3.1 from that day forward, and it just, look, like maybe I'm creating something that's not there, but I believe that when he heard, Dayton Moore and Ned Yost and those guys say, you are no longer helping our big league team, and we are no longer, like, we are better without you than we are with you. I think that pissed him off, and I think it in a good way, and I think it motivated him, and he kind of refocused and realized that he couldn't just do it on talent.
Yordano Ventura was 9-2 with a 3.56 ERA during the second half of the season last year.
Yeah, and I think those numbers were even better after the non-demotion, because that first game was against the Astros in July, like 21st or something like that. But anyway, I think it was a 3.10 ERA. But as long as he can stay focused and not, Dave Island talks about this of watching his body language, and if he gets hit around a little bit, if he gets 2 guys on, if he slows his pace a little bit, that can be a good thing if it calms him down. And I think that you started to see that, of a realization that it's not going to be perfect every game. And next batter, that kind of mature focus that I think sometimes it takes.
Yep.
If I can whip the fans into a frenzy, talking about that age 25 year, Clemens actually, looking it up here, it's coming off a couple Cy Youngs. At age 23 and 24, his 25 year, he had a 2.93 ERA, struck out 291. But Pedro Martinez is 25 year. When he was 25, 1.90 ERA, won his first Cy Young, and his career really took off. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to be Pedro Martinez, but
I think
he was a pretty good
pitcher.
Yeah, that's right. I know
Anything
whip the
less.
fans into a frenzy here, but you're talking about that 25-year-old thing, and yeah, I'm with you. He needed to struggle a little bit, and Ned Yost said that today too.
Yeah,
guys learn. Baseball's about adjustments. You succeed.
It's
other
about
teams figure it out. You got to fail.
Yeah, it's
and
about
then
getting
come back.
punched in the face and then getting back. Because other than Mike Trout, everybody fails. Even Bryce Harper, had relatively speaking, some struggles when he first came up. Most of it was injuries, but anyway, everybody struggles. You have to react to it.
We've talked about it a lot, but I feel like the Royals starting pitching 1 through 5 or 1 through 6, or however you want to look at their starters, they match up pretty well, but they don't have a so-called number one really anywhere. So I mean, that would be, if Ventura could be even a number 2 or something close to that, I think that would kind of fill a void that's on their roster for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
But let's move on. Let's talk about the Royals 25-man roster, and we've talked about all camp how there's not a lot of intrigue, but the Royals today made their first roster cuts and sort of thinned things out a little bit, and sort of gave us an inkling or an idea of what the 25-man roster is going to be. Namely, they optioned Bubba Starling and Kyle Zimmer to the minors. No surprise there. Miguel Almonte also went to AAA with Kyle Zimmer. But they also optioned out Brett Eibner and Jose Martinez, a couple of fringy outfielder types who were sort of in the competition, maybe, but sort of guys that could have kind of maybe claimed a spot when Gerard Dyson got hurt. But now, if you look at the roster, there's essentially you've got 3 outfielders in Paulo Orlando, Alex Gordon, and Lorenzo Cain, and then you've got another 2 guys, Raymond Fuentes and Travis Snyder. And then you've got Whit Merrifield, who's sort of emerged as a utility guy who can play the outfield or the infield. So I think, Sam, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that it's playing out to the point. They've got a couple other options, some veteran guys in camp, but I think it's kind of the path has sort of been cleared, or I don't know if that's the right metaphor, but to have a bench that basically is Christian Colon backing up the infield, and you've got Raymond Fuentes holding a spot for Gerard Dyson, and then you might have Whit Merrifield sort of as the 25th man who can be a fifth outfielder and an extra infielder.
Yeah, I mean, and did I make the bad joke last podcast that Whit Merrifield looks like a game show host?
Yes.
Okay, dang it. All right, well, he does. Do you agree, by the way?
I suppose he does. Although I will say that he's put on 20 pounds in this offseason, and maybe we can just bring up Whit Merrifield's diet and talk about that for like 10 minutes, because his diet is the most unbelievable thing I've heard like this week at camp. So this is what he did in the offseason. He put on 20 pounds. He went from 175 to 190. His day started with 9 eggs for breakfast.
Oh my God.
In addition to oatmeal. I didn't ask him like how he made the eggs. That was poor reporting on my part. But then he would go to 3 meals in the middle of the day of chicken, rice, and vegetables. 3 servings of that. Then he would have that again for dinner, except he wouldn't have chicken. He would have some sort of red meat. And then in between that, he was eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and protein shakes while he was at the gym.
I don't know how you work out when you're like so
But
just full.
But the best part of the story was he compared it. We were like, man, like how was that? And he was like, well, it was pretty tough at first. He's like, it was a little bit like running. He's like, you sort of had to condition your body to do it, and you sort of hit the wall. And he's like, but after I got sick a few times, I was able to kind of push through and get it going.
Nice.
So apparently he at least puked twice while you're eating all that food. But
good.
I'm with you. How can you work out on a full stomach?
No.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. And we assume his stomach was full, right?
Yeah,
He's been
9 eggs.
9
yeah.
eggs is like just the idea of that makes
But I
me
feel
want
like
to vomit.
I'm done for the day. And I don't know if he was chugging 9 eggs and putting those in a shake, or if he was.
I told you, it's Cool Hand Luke, man. You ever see that? Paul Newman eating the 50 eggs, hard-boiled eggs.
Ugh.
Can you imagine? No way, 9 hard-boiled eggs.
I don't know. Well, okay. So to get this thing back on track, the Royals. Ned Yost actually likes Whit Merrifield, and I don't know if he's. I don't know if he's a guy in the future who's a long-term kind of part of the outlook or the 25-man roster. Maybe it's a short-term thing. Maybe he's up and down a lot. But he can play all 7 positions, and he is 27 years old. He's kind of fits their profile as just sort of a grinder, good athlete. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the opening day roster in some capacity.
Yeah, I mean, he can hit a little bit.
Yeah.
And, the idea, you mentioned his age, and I think he's like kind of a mature player. And, one thing about once you get to those last few spots on the roster, managers are always going to err on the side of the guy that they don't think is going to hurt them. A guy that can just play the position that I don't have to worry about. On a different level, that's how Ross Glode would stay in the big leagues. That's why he played so much for for some of those bad Royals teams. And I think Whit Merrifield has I get the sense that one of the things the Royals, Ned Yost specifically, one of the things they like about him is that they have that feeling that he's just, we're not going to get beat there. He may not hit a double for us or win a game or whatever, but he can be fine.
Yeah. I think he's sort of like a poor man's Willie Bloomquist.
Willie Bloomquist, who just retired.
He just retired.
With a great retirement tweet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody with the Royals today said that Whit Merrifield, he can play shortstop. He's not the athlete that Willie Bloomquist was, and who could play shortstop every day, not very well, but could kind of fake it.
If you've got a really bad team, he can play shortstop for you every day.
He could. If you were the 2010 Royals or the 2014 Diamondbacks.
Right.
Yeah, he could do it. But I think he's a guy like that. So he's got a chance to make it. I think they could play around with those last couple pieces and go with a veteran or.
The one thing against him, though, he's not on the 40-man roster, so they would have to make a move. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they've got a lot of flexibility, though. Yeah. And they've got some guys that will likely be moved off of there anyways, like Ramon Torres is on the 40-man, and some other guys that you probably aren't really coveted by other major league teams.
Mm-hmm. Whit Merrifield hit like 340 last year, not 2014 at Omaha.
Yeah.
And it's JJ, I told you that, said that he's the kind of guy that they don't really expect to promote, at least in the beginning, and then he just plays so well. You got to move him up and see what he can do there, and they keep testing him. And He's had a pretty good spring.
Yeah. Yes, and I think it's too early to say the second base competition is over, but I think it would take a lot for Omar Infante to not be starting second baseman for at least 30 to 40 games.
It would take an injury that would keep him out for 30
Yeah.
to 40 games, right? Like, and where we, like, I don't want to put words in either of your mouths, but, like, I was a little bit dubious that it was an open competition in the first place. Like, to me, it had the stink of, like, we want to motivate Christian Colon. We like Christian Colon. We like, we want him on the team. And we don't want to put, Dayton always says, like, we won't put ceilings on players. And if he just came in and just crushed it and Infante's arm was shot and stuff like that, then maybe, but I always got the sense that was going to be Omar Infante's job until, if he's hitting like 208 with no power, and not playing defense, and they're going to make a move at some point. But to me, that was always going to be Infante's job, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, if for no other reason, what were they going to do with Omar Infante?
Exactly.
With his contract, and I mean, there was always going to be motivation for them to see what they have in him, or see if they can get something out of the contract. One spring training of Christian Colon going out and hitting 300 or 350 or whatever he did was, I don't think was going to change their mind.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, from a roster standpoint, it just doesn't really make sense to have Omar Infante as what your backup second baseman. I mean, it seems.
Yeah, if he's not a regular, I think you cut him.
Yeah.
He's not going to do any good on your bench.
Yeah. And so, I mean, he was going to have to play his way out of the job, and it's very rare that anybody's going to play their way out of a job in spring training.
Right.
Unless you get hurt,
Right.
As you said. So
Colon's 0 for 22. We should throw that in, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No hits and 22 at bats, but 3 walks.
And he does have a little statue, a little Joe Boo statue from the movie Major League with a cigarette in the mouth, and so he's on it. But one thing about Infante, because I haven't seen enough of it to say yet, but how is his arm? Of what you've seen at second base, like, I mean, is it stronger than it was last year?
I don't know if I'm educated enough to say. He's played second base like 2 games. Okay. In the first game, I don't think he got a ball over there. So I don't know that there's been a large enough sample size. He hit a ball hard yesterday to left field, had a double. That was about his first hit of the spring. But it's essentially looked like Omar Infante.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been hard to.
I really think, like, especially the way they play and the way they want their team to be built, they can get by with him not providing offense. And Christian Colon, like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, Christian Colon, who I like he's not Ryan Sandberg on the bench, but it's defensively. And Infante is, like, real smooth with his hands and his footwork and stuff around the bag. But there were times, like, he's lollipopping that throw. Can't turn double plays. They're giving up outs on that. Alcides Escobar's taken every relay throw, even a ball in the right field corner. Escobar's running over there to do the relay throw. They just can't have him be that much of a liability with his arm. I think that's the biggest thing to me.
Cool. We're going to finish this podcast out by talking about a column that Sam wrote for Sunday's edition of the Kansas City Star. And stick around, actually, for a bonus segment. After this, we're going to try to get Andy McCullough on the phone. He's down here in Arizona doing, like, nothing. I don't think he's worked in, like, a month. He went home to Philadelphia. He's been just hanging out, going to concerts,
Right.
Just came over to Royals camp today to hang out.
Bored.
Yeah, so came over to talk to Edinson Volquez. He's got time to come over, drive halfway across Phoenix just to talk to Edinson Volquez for like 3 minutes.
To get one quote, yeah.
So, but we're gonna try to get Andy on, see what he's been up to for the last month. But let's finish off here with Alex Gordon. So there's a lot of different ways we can start this, but Sam, you wrote a column essentially about the 8 weeks where Alex Gordon wasn't a Royal, and how the Royals were able to basically do something that nobody thought they were going to be able to do, which is re-sign Alex Gordon. After doing all the reporting and after talking to people and then writing that, like, any different takeaways than when, immediately after he signed?
Yeah, I mean, There was, I guess I hadn't done the complete inventory of all the things that needed to happen for the Royals, for this to happen. And, because, we all knew, I knew, from talking to some of the guys in the front office that they were not optimistic about this deal getting done at all. But, it was just this line of, the biggest thing was Jason Hayward signing with the Cubs. That wiped out the Cubs and the Cardinals as potential suitors for him. And then, Colby Rasmus taking the qualifying offer and staying in Houston. The Mets were looking for a corner outfielder, but Alex was never going to go to New York. The Angels decided kind of strangely not to spend. The White Sox, I don't know this, but I think the White Sox were the team that he was closest to signing with. He said that there was one major team. He got offers presented to him by his agent, Casey Close, but there was one major team and that he kind of pictured like in the other uniform. And I'm pretty sure it was the White Sox. I don't know that for sure. Alex is a very private guy, but it was just, I guess like that, like taking inventory of all the things that had to go right for the Royals. And then the other part was I knew that the officials that like, Dayton and JJ and those guys thought that Alex was gone, but I didn't know like how thoroughly the players thought that too. They were openly talking about it and somewhat joking about it, but it was, Hosmer 100% gone. Kane was, saying it was nice knowing you at the end of the season. Luke Hochevar was so surprised that when he found out, he jumps up in the air and, was like celebrated like, he just signed the $72 million contract, So that surprised me too, of just how thoroughly all the players assumed he was gone.
Okay, so one thing that fascinates me about the way the baseball free agent market works. So Jason Hayward signed for $184 million over, was that?
I think it was 8 years.
8 years.
I think.
And so that essentially, the entire time, he was going to set the market for outfielders, and was basically Alex Gordon was in a holding pattern until he signed. Yet he signs for $184 million, and then it felt like there was this like vacuum, or there was this like no other like top outfielders were signing, and none of them approached that. So did the Cubs just pay like a premium for basically the best outfielder on the market? Or,
well, yeah, they may have, but Jason Hayward's also a lot younger.
Yeah, there's other factors, but I don't.
And I do think that there's a significant gap between Hayward and Gordon and sort of the rest of that second tier. And you could also, I guess, you could technically add Gordon's last two contracts together and get that 8-year window, and it would be that would maybe be a better comparison. Yeah, although but not to get too inside baseball, but just take the last 2 years of that contract, because those were his free agent years. Before that, it was the ARB years, but. There was just a lot. It was a slow moving market for whatever reason. And, nobody wanted to take the Nationals money for some reason, just because it's I read a story. I can't remember. I wish I could give credit to whoever wrote it. But, the Nationals are having problems with their TV deal, and they're trying to structure all their contracts in a weird way that makes nobody want to sign there.
I think that was Barry's for Luga.
Was it Barry? Yeah, it probably was Barry. But anyway, it just like it does seem like there was, everybody thought, and Gordon thought this, his agent thought this, that once Hayward signed, it was just going to be dominoes. And it was like Hayward signs, nothing. It was just like silence. It was just, and that part of it was strange. And some of it, the Royals had a strategy, not necessarily in terms of Gordon, but they had a strategy that there were more players out there than teams.
Essentially why somebody like Colby Rasmus probably took the qualifying offer.
Yeah.
That's a sign that, okay, the market's not great here for outfielders if a guy's taking a qualifying offer, which guys rarely do.
Yeah. And I think the free agent market next year is supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
So, maybe teams had that kind of leverage too, where if we don't spend now, we can spend more later. But that was Dayton's, you guys remember this, like his musical chairs reference, where he kind of said, there's only so many chairs and there's a lot of people. So when the music stops, there's going to be guys that, need jobs. And that, that was their Ryan Madsen and especially their Chris Young last year. So, But it's just a wild, like there was so much hinging on this in baseball for sure, but also just sort of sentimentally of, what Alex Gordon, I mean, just symbolically, like this guy who was drafted by Allard Baird, actually, like I think it's easy for people to forget that. But he's just such a representation of, they drafted him the year that I think they lost 104 games. And, he got sent down to the minor leagues by a team that lost 95 games. And then, through really like hard work, a lot of talent, but also hard work, humility, a lot of things, he worked himself into, one of, if not the best left fielder, hits the iconic home run in the World Series. I mean, it's just, they to lose all of that, I think would have been just a punch in the gut or a little bit lower.
So Alex Gordon is 32 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I think he turned 32 in February.
Right.
So he'll be aging into his kind of post-prime
Sure.
in this deal. But what can Alex Gordon be in 2016? I mean, have we seen the best of him?
Well, yeah, I mean, sort of like what we were just talking about with pitchers. Like a lot of them can have their career year at 25 and then still have great careers. The dominate year, was that 2012?
I think that was 2011.
2011. He could, I don't know that he'll match that year just offensively, but I think he can be a really, really good hitter still. I think he'll be better this year than he was last year. I think that last year was hard for him in a lot of ways. He started the season hurt. He started the season, he couldn't really work out in the offseason like he usually does because of that wrist. And, if you're a Major League Baseball hitter and your wrist is messed up, like that's a bad injury to have. And I don't think he ever felt comfortable. And then he had the groin injury. And I think there were some, I know there were some around baseball and even within the Royals that were kind of wondering, is this the beginning of the end? And is this a guy that we're going to have to DH sometimes and really pull back the throttle on? And I think that the way that he finished the season was really important for them.
He, last year, as much as he battled the injuries and then missed 50-some games, played in 104 games, he did hit 271 with 377 on-base percentage and a 120 OPS plus.
Mm-hmm.
And if he matches those numbers this year in a full season, that's fine.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is I think he can be better than that even. And I know that, once you get past 30, you start to go down a little bit. But I really do. I believe that, and without double checking, I think that he started slow, right? I think his numbers probably in the first half were maybe worse than the second. Rustin's going to check and see if I'm right.
He missed most of the second half too.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But let's see what he hit in the summer or when he wasn't hurt. He was hitting, wow. I guess that's only 8 games though. He was hitting 385 in June when he got hurt, or in July. But that's 8 games. Yeah. But he hit, actually no, he started pretty well. He hit 303 in April and March. 425 OBP.
In your face, Sam.
Yeah, 20. So yeah, he was not bad, and then he kind of struggled a little bit in May and June. Relatively speaking, he hit 250, 256. On base percentage was still pretty good in June. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're just wrong, Sam.
Yeah, it's happened once before. But no, I guess Alex is the kind of player that I do think that they're going to have to pull the throttle back a little bit because he plays so hard that I think he's hard on his body. But he's also athletic, and athletic players tend to age relatively well. Obviously keeps himself in really good shape. So I think if they can, if a full season for him can be 145 games, something like that, which would be about, a day off a week, a game off a week, something like that. I think they'll be in really good shape.
Do you think guys starting to come into their primes, that maybe they don't need as much out of Gordon as they did a few years ago?
Yeah. I mean, because it sounds like I'm bullish, right, on a lot of guys. But, I think Eric Hosmer is also there for a breakout. So, yeah, I mean, they don't need it was a joke. It was not what should have been happening for some reasons. But, he was hitting 8th in the playoffs. And, I think in my lineup, he'd be leading off. But I think in reality, I think he'll probably end up hitting like sixth, I think, in their lineup. But yeah, I mean, Hosmer's their guy, Kane is their guy. Morales, I don't think is going to be as good as he was last year, but he's still a professional hitter that hits a lot of line drives, a switch hitter in the middle of the lineup. That can be a good thing. But no, that's a good point. Like, they don't need him to be a superstar. They really like his defense. They need him to be around guys. I do think that he's a good influence, but they'll take solid Alex for sure.
With the caveat that lineups don't matter. And
yeah,
we're really splitting the baloney pretty thin here. Do you have any issue with Alex Gordon hitting sixth as opposed to hitting second and flipping him with Mike Moustakas? Because I think Mike Moustakas is going to end up batting second.
Yeah.
Ned Yost has not really hit that secret very well.
Right.
But do you have any issue with that?
I mean, not a huge one. I've never heard splitting the baloney really thin. I've never heard that before. I think that Gordon is a better hitter than Moose, and I think that he's a better fit for that spot in the lineup. But I also think that I also have a lot of respect for the idea that hitting second unlocks something in Moose, and maybe the threat of having Kane behind him meant he got more pitches to hit. And I do think there are logical baseball reasons in hindsight, because I thought it was crazy when they did it. But logical baseball reasons in hindsight that really work. So I mean, it's not what I would do, but whatever. That doesn't mean that I'm right, as we've seen, right? Yeah. But I think that Alex, my ideal lineup would have him hitting first, and then I think you go Gordon.
And you just move Kane up to second, yeah.
Yeah, Hosmer 3, Morales, Moose, Perez, and then you fill it out. But whatever.
And then Escobar could bat ninth. It's essentially the same exact
second
same
leadoff spot. Yeah,
I mean, he could
keep
bat
swinging
ninth,
first.
Same lineup, but you just flip it down.
Yeah.
All right, let's end with one really nerdy baseball question.
Yeah.
Alex Gordon, in 2012, he had a 6.3 WAR, wins above replacement. 2013, he was 4.2. 2014, he was 6.6 wins above replacement. That was a pretty good year.
Yeah.
And then last year, we can kind of throw it out because he didn't play that much. If he plays a full season, is he? Do you think he's back to a 6-win player, which is definitely all-star level?
That's a big number.
Yeah.
I would think more in the 4 range.
Yeah.
6 is a big number. But yeah, I mean, I think he can be in the 4s.
Okay.
I think he's a really, really good player. I don't think he's like a superstar, but I think he's a really, really solid player. I'm sorry, Pete.
No, I think he pushes 5 with his WAR. Really, depending on your WAR you look at, is if he's throwing guys out, his defense I think will push it toward 5. I don't think he gets to 6 either, but
I think it's safe to say. I mean, aside from Lorenzo Cain, Alex Gordon is probably the Royals' best player, and it's probably
best all around
player, and that's probably not going to change in 2016. Sorry, even if Eric Hosmer goes crazy, I mean, I guess it could change in that instance, but that's probably still the case that those two guys are their
probably
two best all around players.
But I would say that part of the Royal strength is that they don't have one guy, and I was worried about them when Gordon went down, and because it's not often that a guy gets hurt and his teammates have tears in their eyes when they're talking about what they're gonna do without while this guy's on the DL, and that happened with Alex, and I was worried about how that would affect him, and they seem to move on. I mean, I think if Kane gets hurt for an extended period of time, Escobar and Perez, I think those are the 3 guys they really can't afford, just because you take into account what they have behind those guys. But everybody else, I think they can absorb.
Okay,
that's the old spine of the team, right?
Yeah, up the middle.
You gotta have your strength there.
Yep.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Sam, what do you got coming? You're gonna be here for a few more days, but any other Royals stuff you want to tease out there?
Yeah, I mean, I got a George Brett thing that I think will be fun. That I might write tomorrow, which will be Tuesday, March 15th, Rustin.
Okay.
And then there's one thing I want to keep quiet a little bit, and then but I'm mostly working on some section stuff. We're gonna have the baseball preview section coming out opening day, I would assume, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And I think
3rd.
it'll be great. Like that's one of my favorite sections that we do each year. I think that and the football section. I think the staff does a really good job. The editors do a great job. So I'm looking forward to that. What about you?
I don't know. I don't really want to say anything right now because I've got a lot of balls in the air, and I don't know when they're gonna fall. You know.
Yeah, I see.
So, but there's a couple of stories I'm working on, and we'll be around. I'm going to San Antonio this weekend for the Royals games at the Alamo Dome.
There you go.
Playing the Texas Rangers on Friday and Saturday, and
270 down the right field line.
Yes.
George Brett almost wanted to play.
It's a short porch in the Alamo Dome. They don't really have I don't think it was built for baseball in mind. So
Yeah,
it's 270 down the right field line. So I'm kind of hoping that they
270.
I'm kind of hoping that they let Eric Hosmer play the entire game and he hits like 5 home runs.
Right.
It's probably asking too much, but
Wait, down the left field line?
it's right field line.
Oh, right field line.
Yeah, sorry, right
Moose
field
is
line.
gonna pull everything.
He's not going.
He's not going.
He's so mad.
So, but I think I think Eric Hosmer is the best left-handed hitter they have going.
Yeah.
Lorenzo Cain will be down there, and Perez and Colon and a few other regulars. But
That's funny.
but I'm hoping that Eric Hosmer just like skies a 280-foot pop-up,
Right.
and it just goes out.
That'd be great.
So you've been listening to Sports Beat KC. For Sam Mellinger and Pete Grathoff, I am Rustin Dodd, and we'll be back next week.